Willis Gordon, a lost highwayman, an outlaw patriot, a hellraiser, and a writer with no permanent location. Gordon's an acclaimed author, powerful essayist, controversial columnist, musician, boxer, and veteran of the War on Terror. He does political writing for unlikelystories.org, as well as drunkenabsurdity.com, and his first two books are The Long Road Home and The Empty Boulevards. Willis.
I've been reading up on poets and philosophers considering my present company. And most recently, I've been revisiting my favorite English philosophers to get a handle on America's current events. Of these sages, the philosopher Jagger once said in 1968 that in sleepy London town there's just no place for a street-fighting man. That was 44 years ago. The sleepy London town is now the entire American landscape. The street-fighting man has not been displaced by some massively oppressive police force, totalitarian government, private death squad, or even overfunded espionage tactics. It was us. We are so afraid of true revolution or even change that we've conditioned ourselves to shrink back from any indication of it. Our intrepid philosopher goes on to say that where we live, the game we play, the game to play is compromise solution. In these darkening days, we'll be lucky if we get even that. The most visceral evidence of this has been the aggressive, blatant, and mostly unnoticed militarization of the police. People criticized Boston PD when they rolled out armored vehicles and SWAT teams in the wake of the Boston bombing in 2013. But there happened to be a clear and present threat to the security of the city. I remember because I was there. The feeling of unrest, of panic, that dizzying discomfort sitting in a chair with one leg is just too short, never being able to get settled. Fast forward to Ferguson in 2014. Tear gas, Molotov cocktails, riot gear, assault rifles trained on armed civilians, rubber bullets sailing into crowds, including children. All this because yet another policeman murdered yet another young unarmed black man in the street, and the police gave no reason, no real answers, and made no real effort to rectify the situation. The people of Ferguson, to their credit, were having exactly none of it. Peaceful protests were met with armed officers and things escalated into all-out madness in the streets. The eyes of the nation were fixed on Ferguson, and what did we see? Those people need to stop making trouble. Why would you loot from your own community? How stupid. How come when a white person gets killed by the cops, it never makes the news? Well, I wish they'd stop making this a race issue. No one wonders why the police department is armed well enough to enter Fallujah, or why they're pointing loaded weapons at unarmed civilians, or why a town like Ferguson needs armored vehicles and tanks in the first place. We don't blink because they're the police. The uniform represents authority, and no one here wants to rock that boat. As not only a citizen of this country, but as a veteran of our war on terror, I find it absolutely disgusting that the organization meant to prevent, protect, and serve private citizens is being given war machines designed to maim and kill and drive people into caves, and subsequently centuries into the past. In January of this year, the Pentagon gave away 1,300 armored trucks. 1,300 trucks, each worth $500,000 out the gate. One of the departments that snapped one up was the Ohio State University Campus Police in my own home state. MRAP vehicles, which are mine-resistant and explosive-resistant, are also being given away to people who don't even remotely need them. In High Springs, Florida, the police department received one of these Christmas presents, and can you guess how many officers are on their force? 12. Now there's a disciple joke in there somewhere, but I'm going to resist. Not only are these men using military equipment, but they don't have the military training to use it in the first place. And the more I talk to police officers across the country, and the more people that I interview, the more I realize how universal the problem is. Promotion works completely backwards in the police universe. Those who actually have first-hand experience with combat or prior military experience are busy walking a beat, or carrying a gun, or putting their life on the line. Where the pencil necks and the paper pushers who have time to study for exams and don't take vacation advance greatly, become sergeants, dictate protocol, and teach weapons courses. Overtime is not paid in order to shoot. or in order to get familiar with your weapon. In fact, in about 3 states, most police only shoot twice a year. Once to practice for their qualification, and a second time to qualify to carry the gun. Where is our sense of pride? The fire in our bellies that allows us to join together and rise up against forces we know to be a threat to all that is good in the world. It has been extinguished by years of subversion and cowardice. Rebellion has to be appropriated by Hollywood and by mainstream America to look like James Dean or Steve McQueen, all leather jackets, sunglasses, and engine maintenance. We are so pacified by thinking that is rebellion that we've lost the true meaning. Anyone who truly rebels against our delicate tendencies is broken, fucked, and scattered across the earth in quick succession. Rebellion is in a sense of being cool. Rebels hit the books before they hit the streets. But we have to be well-read and informed in order to take truth to power. It's more than just posing on a silver screen or bitching about the patriarchy on social media. That is not societal combat. The great failure of the 1960s is that we were afraid to go on. No real reward came after so much blood and sacrifice. Madness and tear gas and the Democratic National Convention, leaders murdered in cold blood. But we can be great again. Through knowledge, understanding, willpower, and the strength to take no shit from anyone. I hear too many people talk of war who have never been and will never understand what it really is. Too many of my fellow servicemen and women have seen its horrors, and the last thing we need is that military mindset and use of force here at home. We sacrificed so much that it didn't come to that. With Fallujah back in the hands of terrorists and tanks rolling down suburban streets in the U.S., some of us ask each other, was it all for nothing? So what can a poor boy do? He can read. He can take the lessons of Thoreau, of Thomas Paine, Che Guevara, Malcolm X, Huey Newton, Aaron Swartz, Julian Assange, Muhammad Ali. He can arm himself in the best way possible, with knowledge. Understanding of facts and truth are the only way to ensure the survival of what we hold dear in this country and every country around the world. Armed men can kill flesh, but not ideas. Ideas don't bleed, they don't get tired. They never surrender under any circumstances. They survive for generations and get more powerful as they go on. In order to reevaluate how we police ourselves, we must first recognize ourselves and value ourselves instead of making excuses for our oppressors. It's time for us to recognize our own humanity. And the time is now. Don't post it, live it. A revolution and change can take place anywhere. In a bookstore, in a back room, in a computer room, in a laboratory somewhere. But change takes place and is made on concrete.